So the path to United States citizenship is looking like it's going to become more difficult as a result of some changes to the testing. Now, this is coming from the Associated Press. This headline here reads, US citizenship test changes are coming, raising concerns for those with low English skills. The naturalization test is one of the final steps towards citizenship, a months-long process that requires legal permanent residency for years before applying. Many are still shaken after former Republican President Donald Trump's administration changed the test in 2020, making it longer and more difficult to pass. Within months, Democratic President Joe Biden took office and signed an executive order aimed at eliminating barriers to citizenship. That in that spirit, the citizenship test was changed back to its previous version, which was last updated in 2008. And I have to say at this point, the Republican, Donald Trump and the Republican Party making it harder to become a citizen legally while also virtue signaling about how they want legal immigration to the United States. They don't want illegal immigration, as they'll say, but they're making the process to become a citizen, to come here legally, to go through this process legally, so much more difficult that it has the effect of inadvertently increasing undocumented immigration to the United States. So I hate that line, I hate that argument. And I also hate that despite the fact that the Biden rolled back some of those changes in December, United States authorities said an update is needed to the citizenship test after 15 years. And this new version is expected late next year. So let's talk about some of the changes that they're asking for. From Associated Press, US Citizenship and Immigration Services proposes that the new test adds a speaking section to assess English skills. An officer would show photos of ordinary scenarios like daily activities, weather, or food, and ask the applicant to verbally describe the photos. And this is a sizable change from the way that they're currently doing it. Because in the current test, an officer evaluates speaking ability during the naturalization interview by asking personal questions the applicant has already answered in the naturalization paperwork. And Francesca, we talked about this a little bit before the show. I don't understand why this is a requirement at all. We don't have a national language. You should not have to show English proficiency to become a United States citizen, in my opinion, because you could be born here and never learn to speak English because your family doesn't speak English, and that would never be a requirement made of you, and you could get by pretty okay. I mean, I have an aunt who's Korean and has just refused to learn English, and she's been living here longer than I've been alive, and God bless her. And she gets by just fine. So I mean, the idea that they're gonna force people to learn to speak English and put that added pressure on them.
Yeah, they're business owners. They are workers. They are caregivers. They are family. They're their parents. They're Americans. They eat hot dogs and light off fireworks on the 4th of July, maybe, maybe not. And it doesn't matter if they speak English or not. Like it is, that is the point of this country, right? Yes, it is taught in school. Largely, you probably assume folks are gonna learn a modicum of English, right? But this is, of course, a barrier to that, and moving us towards what I think one of the, not one of the first pillars of the right, but one of the sort of priorities of the right is to make English a national language, right? As if any other language, let's say Spanish, as if Spanish were like really gaining on English, and oh no, everyone's looking at, it's the same, sort of, again, Christian fragility that you see everywhere, where it's like, oh no, other religions are coming for us. Where, when, how? Nope, no, they're not. You recognizing other holidays and other religions, respecting them, absolutely does not mean Christianity is under threat. It is still the majority religion in this country, just like English is the majority language. But again, this is all neither here nor there. The point is, most Americans, citizens, could not answer the current naturalization test, even if they really study. Like let's just keep it 100. Like, full disclosure, a Canadian friend of mine asked me some questions, and I was like, I don't know that one. Like, there was a couple. The exact number of Congress people, let's be real, 435, I believe now, I know that. For sure, I was flirting, it was like 437, I was close. But look, it's not easy already, and to have to answer that in English with a naturalization officer in front of you, which by the way, another Canadian friend of mine, a lot of Canadians looking for citizenship, said that it's incredibly nerve-wracking when an officer is speaking to you directly, and even though you've studied, you kind of buckle up, and sometimes they're like weird or whatnot, and so there's a lot of pressure anyway, even though folks have waited for this moment, have studied, have worked for this moment, have lived in this country and paid their taxes for many years. But yeah, it's again with everything related to immigration in this country, it is all politicized, it is all for show. As you pointed out, it has nothing to do with doing things the right way. It is to do with maintaining white English minority rule.
Exactly, and it really perpetuates like the racist stereotype that someone who doesn't speak English or is not proficient in English is dumb, they're stupid. When, if you ask them some of these, they've studied, they've prepared. If you ask them these questions in their native language, they would be much more comfortable and probably much more successful. But just to go back to the changes between the current test and the new test, Bill Bliss, who's the citizenship textbook author in Massachusetts, pointed out some of the setbacks on this new proposed photo-based test. In a Medium post, he wrote, "Picture prompt speaking test depicting situations of ordinary life, are commonly used to place students into general English language classes or evaluate their progress, but they do not elicit the level of meaningful performance of English skills that applicants demonstrate when communicating their most important personal information during the normal course of the interview." But the picture test isn't the only proposed change from the original test. According to the Associated Press, another proposed change would make the civics section on US history and government multiple choice instead of the current oral short answer format. Currently, the applicant must answer 6 out of 10 civics questions correctly to pass. Those 10 questions are selected from a bank of 100 civics questions. The applicant is not told which questions will be selected, but can see and study the 100 questions before taking the test. Now, this change has been met with significant backlash. Lynn Weintraub, a citizenship coordinator at Jones Library's English as a Second Language Center in Massachusetts, said the proposed format for the civics section could make the citizenship test harder for people who struggle with English literacy. That includes refugees, elderly immigrants, and people with disabilities that interfere with their test performance. And Francesca, you're exactly right what you were saying before about there's plenty of people who are, natural American citizens born here who couldn't answer these questions. There's countries where, I think in Portugal, you could become a citizen just by purchasing property. A lot of countries you don't have to jump through these sort of hurdles. You don't have to, stand up and salute the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. So, to ask these civics questions, and again, the people who are born here don't have to know. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I mean, maybe we should know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not arguing against that. But again, all of it is just another tool on the tool belt of maintaining, again, the white minority rule. And these are, of all the people, you're talking about people who are like truly like are going through the process of naturalization. They don't just have green cards. They want to be part of the political process. And the other thing that is obviously peddled by the right is that all the people who want to be citizens now, they're all Democrats and they're all gonna vote and they're gonna replace you. And then it's like, no, that's also not true. Stop assuming that everyone is voting Democrat,
Right.
And to start assuming that they're probably not gonna vote, because most Americans don't. Anyway.
It's the most patriotic thing you can do. That's the most American
patriotic thing. God.